Welcome to the 22 Threads podcast. I'm your host, Mediocre Dan. This is Drop 3, UConn is Home, the history of UConn baseball. The University of Connecticut first fielded a baseball team in 1896, when they were still known as the Storrs Agricultural School. In the early years, the team played local competition from the surrounding area, including many high schools. During the first 51 years of UConn baseball, the team competed as an independent. In 1936, UConn, which was then known as Connecticut State College, hired a new head coach for their baseball team, Joseph Orleans Christian, who would serve as UConn's manager across 4 different decades. At the time he was hired, Coach Christian was also serving as the head coach of the football and basketball teams. J.O. Christian's 66 wins as the football head coach is second all-time in UConn history, behind only Randy Edsall's 80 career wins. Coach Christian only coached 1 season with the basketball team, going 3-10. UConn baseball began playing as a member of the Yankee Conference in 1948, the first year the conference supported the sport, and has been affiliated with the conference ever since. However, during Coach Christian's tenure, affiliation with the conference did not mean too much on a national level. Up until 1947, college baseball did not have a national tournament to crown a champion, but that changed when the NCAA established a tournament now known as the College World Series. Since 1950, the tournament has been held in Omaha, Nebraska, and has featured an 8-team double elimination style bracket. In the early years of the tournament, the bracket was filled with teams from the 8 different NCAA districts around the country. During the first few iterations, teams were selected by each district's own independent criteria. And starting in 1954, the districts began to host a play-in style tournament to send its representative schools to the college finals. There were no strict rules, though, for how these play-ins worked, and the number of teams included in each district's tournament varied year by year. In 1957, a decade after the College World Series was established, UConn won the District 1 play-in, defeating the only challenger, Springfield College, in a 3-game series. UConn secured its first trip to Omaha. But the Huskies would lose their opening round game of the College World Series to Texas by a score of 3-0. They came back and beat Florida State in an elimination game 5-3, before eventually being eliminated by Iowa State 1 game short of the semifinals. UConn would appear in one more College World Series during Coach Christian's tenure in 1959, when Joseph Orleans Christian retired from managing the Huskies after the 1961 season. He left as the winningest coach in UConn baseball history up to that time, with a career record of 257 wins. His number 17 jersey has been retired by UConn. UConn baseball would make 3 more College World Series, in 1965, 1972, and 1979, as it transitioned out of the Yankee Conference to the newly established Big East. Over the decades, college baseball has changed its playoff system, from the loosely defined district tournaments, which sent UConn to 5 College World Series, to the structure college baseball fans know today. The tournament now consists of 64 teams in a double elimination style tournament, with a regional round among 4 teams, hosted by the top school in the pod. The winner of those regional rounds match up in a super regional between 2 teams hosted by the higher ranked team. And the College World Series is still in Omaha among the 8 super regional champions. UConn baseball reached the modern version of the NCAA tournament for the first time in 2010, under current head coach and former player Jim Penders. Coach Penders was first hired in 1997 as a graduate assistant under Jim Baylock, who he had played for in Storrs from 1991 to 1994. When Coach Baylock retired, Jim Penders was promoted to head coach in 2004. Since taking over as manager less than 20 years ago, Coach Penders has quietly built UConn baseball not only into a Northeast baseball powerhouse, but a team that's well respected on the national stage. Baseball is a sport played outdoors, especially at the amateur level. Because of this, many of the top players are from Southern and West Coast states, and the colleges in those regions often attract those top recruits. So creating a nationally relevant program in snowy New England, where there's less of a talent pool and practice outdoors is challenging for nearly half the year, is an impressive feat. Since Coach Penders led the Huskies to their first NCAA berth under the current 64-team format in 2010, UConn has reached the NCAA tournament in 8 of the last 12 years, and reached the Super Regionals in both 2011 and 2022. Something that's helped boost the Huskies program has been Coach Penders' ability to both lure top local talent to UConn and develop his players to play at the next level. During his tenure, Coach Penders has had 66 players drafted or signed by Major League Baseball, including 5 first-round selections. During the last 2 seasons alone, UConn has had 11 different players drafted or signed by MLB clubs, including their most recent first-round draft pick, Reggie Crawford. Coach Penders has produced a number of MLB players during his tenure, including active MLB players Nick Ahmed, shortstop for the Arizona Diamondbacks, Matt Barnes, pitcher for the Miami Marlins, formerly with the Boston Red Sox, Anthony Kay, pitcher for the Chicago Cubs, and George Springer, a 4-time All-Star and World Series MVP outfielder for the Toronto Blue Jays and the pride and joy of New Britain, Connecticut. UConn Baseball has opened the 2023 season with a 9-4 record and plays their first home game of the year at Elliott Ballpark against UMass on March 22nd. Thanks for checking out the podcast. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you're listening, and as always, likes, shares, and ratings go a long way. You can catch Drop 4 next week, same time, same place. Until then, UConn, UConn, UConn.